What is happening, all YouTube warriors out there? Range Day Bro back at it again, and today we're going to be talking about the MK18 SBR. Is it worth it to pay the tyrannical tax stamp and take the plunge just to put a brace and a vertical grip on here without having to worry about your dog getting shot? Let's get into it. If you've ever bought an AR pistol just to take off the brace, put on a stock just to see how it would look without doing any of the paperwork, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button, guys. We've all thought about it. No one's really ever done that. We've all thought about it before. That's a guarantee. And it's a very simple thing to do. And that's why I wanted to kind of make this video today. Obviously, I wouldn't be on YouTube with my AR in this configuration if I hadn't gone through the proper channels, filled out the paperwork, paid that tyrannical tax to just put a different piece of plastic on the same exact weapons platform here. All right, so as you can tell, guys, I finally got my Form 1 back, and the Daniel Defense Mark 18 is finally an official SBR. As you see, I have the vertical grip on here. No one holds it like that. Anyways, let me just go from tip to butt and talk about the way I have this thing set up now that it is officially an SBR. You guys are very familiar with the Mark 18 already, but there are a few changes since I upgraded this to an SBR, so let me just go through those really quickly. Up front, we have a rifles only suppressor cover. This is their HAD, heat ambient device suppressor cover, so it's a high temp suppressor cover. Cuts down a lot of the mirage. Is it really necessary for a 10.3 inch Mark 18? Not really, but it does help when I'm using the magnifier and trying to reach out a little further with the mirage. Also, it helps to not burn the shit out of your leg when you're slinging this guy to the side and switching, doing transition drills and all that stuff. Underneath that is the Dead Air Sandman S. It's the 30 cal, but I have the 5.56 flash hider end cap on here. Then I have the Troy Industries aluminum foregrip here. And then I have a Surefire Scout 1500 lumen light on here with just the tail cap. Works just fine the way I have this guy set up. When I come up, my thumb's right here. If I need it, I can just actuate that. No cables, no wires, nothing get in the way. Moving on back, we have the Daniel Defense RIS-2 rail, Midwest Industries fixed front sight post, HK style, EOTech EXPS3-2. This is the 2-dot reticle. I have a Magpul QD point right here on the side. And then Daniel Defense upper lower, plastic dust cover. Never had an issue with that. All Daniel Defense lower parts except for a new thing I just upgraded this to was the Geisley trigger. I forget which one it is, but I'll annotate it on the screen. It's their cheapest one. I think it was about $150. Great two-stage trigger, nice little upgrade, but still duty rated. It's got full power springs, which I love about Geisley, and it's a Geisley for about $150. So even though it's their cheapest Geisley, it's still going to be a tremendous trigger. I actually haven't got it out to the range yet, but just feeling it, dry firing it, it feels amazing, and I have plenty of Geisley triggers to base my biases off of. But Daniel Defense furniture, pistol grip, selector switch, all that stuff. I have a Vortex 3X on here. I have a Magpul M-Bus Pro folding rear sight. I have the Geisley Super Airborne charging handle, real slim lined. I love this guy for when I'm wearing my kit. Daniel Defense buffer tube, buffer weight, buffer spring, and then the B5 system SOP mod in the FDE. So that's how we have it kitted out. So since the last video I made, I've upgraded this obviously to an SBR. Since I got my Form 1 back, I immediately put the stock on here after getting it laser engraved. That's an important fact you got to remember. And then I put the vertical grip on here. So for those of you who don't know what the difference between a pistol is and what an SBR is, I'm sure most of you watching this video already know. I'll make it very quick. If your barrel length is shorter than 16 inches overall, then you have to have it in a pistol configuration. Usually ARs and AKs, but those are the two most common platforms at least. Let me give you guys some examples. So here is the brace that came on this Daniel Defense originally when I purchased it as a pistol. This is this SB Tactical SBA3 brace. It's a great brace. A lot of people love it. I don't mind it at all. It's got adjustable positions. Great little brace. I did upgrade it to the SBA4. I call it an upgrade because I like this one better. A little bit more of a cheek weld on here. A little bit more sturdy overall. I like the way it feels. And so I upgraded it to this before I turned it into an SBR. So here we have a really cool one. This is the SB Honey Badger PDW brace from SB Tactical to look similar to the Honey Badger brace. This guy is really cool and unique PDW style pistol brace, but there's another example because we have a 8.3 inch shorty barrel and this guy a 300 blackout. So here's another example of a pistol brace. And the last one I'll bore you guys with is the infamous AK. This is the Arsenal SAM 7K 44 Genesis AR or AK pistol rather. Hence why we could fold this guy and still shoot it. But this guy has a Gearhead Works tail hook on here. So braces come in all shapes and sizes and for all different applications, what you really want to accomplish out of them. This one is aluminum. I really love this one, really sturdy. One last thing I'll mention to you is that if you have a barrel length of 13.7 inches or 14.5 are the two most common that I've seen out there, if you get a muzzle device that is long enough to take that overall length of the barrel past the 16-inch mark, permanently attached, pinned and welded to the barrel, meaning you'd have to destroy the barrel or permanently damage the barrel in order to remove that muzzle device, then you qualify for that to be a full-blown rifle instead of a pistol. Here we have exactly that on this ATX Armory. This has a FN 14.5-inch barrel, and what we've done up here is pinned and welded this dead air muzzle device to it, bringing the overall length to more than 16 inches, making this a rifle without needing any kind of paperwork. Again, this is just highlights, guys, because I'm sure most of you guys already know this, but the paperwork I'm referring to is a Form 1. If you purchase a AR pistol or an AK pistol and you want to manufacture a SBR, short barrel rifle, in your home by literally just removing this guy like so, and then removing the brace and then slapping a stock on here, that's called manufacturing SBR, and that is actually a felony. So you don't want to be doing that without your proper Form 1 approval and without having your lower of your SBR laser engraved with either your trust or you as an individual before you go ahead and manufacture that SBR. So the Form 1 application is pretty easy. It's done on the eForms website, which is now undergoing a lot of changes as of December 2021. They are adding the Form 4 to the eForms, which is the Form 4 is usually typically for silencers or factory bought SBRs. If you were to buy an SBR, a Daniel Fence DDM4 and an SBR configuration directly from Daniel Fence, that's also a Form 4. But when you're manufacturing it, it's kind of a weird term because literally all you're doing is removing the brace and putting a stock on there. But that's what they call manufacturing an SBR. So when you're doing that, it's a Form 1. Now, luckily that with the eForms website, it's not a very long process. I actually went through Capital Armory, and it was extremely easy. I'm very grateful for them and their service that they provide. They're the only ones I've known to provide this type of service nowadays, and that may change with this new ATF update. What they did was I purchased my own gun trust through Gun Guru, who they recommend highly, and that's who they usually refer people to. But I had done that on my own, and then when I purchased that trust, I went into them. I paid them for the tax stamp. I paid them for their service. It was about $300 for the stamp and their service, about $100 for the service. The tax stamp's $200 for those of you who aren't into the NFA world yet. And then what they do is they help you out. They file the paperwork. They do everything for you because they've done it a million times, and it can be very confusing. It's not the most user-friendly website as you could imagine a DOJ, Department of Justice website would be, like the ATF's website for eForms. It's not a very intuitive, easy-to-use platform, so they help you with that process. And what happened was I waited about 25 to 30 days. I can't remember exactly, but I got my tax stamp back, at which point I took in my lower receiver, still as a pistol, because you have to have it laser engraved before you can convert this and manufacture an SBR. So I took it in as a pistol, and once it was laser engraved, I came home and manufactured and put on my buttstock for the brace, and it was that simple. So 25 days, not a bad turnaround time, but you got to pay that tax, and if you want to use a gun trust, then you also have to purchase a gun trust if you don't already have one. This is not legal advice, guys. Make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's. Capital Armory, I highly recommend them. Extremely knowledgeable individuals over there. And with all that being said, let me just dive into why or why not you may not want to do this, or you may want to. So what's the number one benefit for me? Absolutely aesthetics. Number one and most prevalent benefit is aesthetics. Because in fact, the SBA4 pistol brace has a pretty decent cheek weld on it, and although the ATF's gone back and forth about whether you could shoulder this or not, the latest ruling has been that you can occasionally shoulder it by accident while firing, things like that. And so if your cheek's on there, as long as it's not touching your shoulder until you start firing by accident, theoretically, right, you can put your cheek on this, no problem at all. So this was a pretty badass brace. This did everything that the B5 SOP mod does in a home defense situation, right? If I was over in Afghanistan or in a war zone, absolutely I'd want the SOP mod. But for my purposes, for home defense, this got it all done pretty damn well. And for not having to pay, upwards of, let's say $100 for the trust and $300 for the stamp and for the service, around $400, it's not that bad of a deal to just keep this on there and then deal with an angled foregrip instead of this vertical grip. However, the biggest deal for me was aesthetics. Obviously, I love the way this looks. It's very aesthetically pleasing. It's what I was going for when I bought the MK18. I always had dreamt of and planned on doing this eventually. Number one is aesthetics. Number two is being able to shoulder it without being worried about it at all. And the cheek weld is quite a bit better on this wide SOP mod system we have here. Really good, nice purchase on there. And then obviously the last benefit, is going to be having a vertical grip, or the option of mounting a vertical grip. In fact, after I mounted this vertical grip on here, as much as I do love this Troy, I honestly think that the Magpul angled foregrip fit my hand a little bit better with this quad rail, the way it's set up. I like the angled foregrip a little bit better, honestly, as far as comfort goes. But I do like the option of, if I'm tired or if this rail gets really hot, to be able to just take my hand off of it completely and wrap my hand around this guy. And one of the coolest parts about this Troy vertical grip here is that I can actually add this extension in here, which makes it longer, and they're all O-ring sealed. So you have storage inside, but then you can now make this quite a bit longer, make it look more like a knight's armament vertical grip. So you have a full broomstick up here if you really wanted it. I like the shorty better, so that's the way I like to run it. But anyways, that's an option. So that's the second benefit. Now, what are the downfalls besides the cost, right? The cost is the obvious one, the time it takes to do that. Besides those two negatives, the main downfall, in my opinion, is going to be the state lines deal. That's what you hear over and over and over again about. You're not able to take this across state lines without notifying the ATF of you traveling with an SBR in advance by written notice, and they have to approve it before you can go ahead and do that. Well, the fine folks over at Capital Armory, in their infinite wisdom, again, not legal advice, it's just what I was told. They told me as long as I restore this into a pistol configuration before I travel across straight lines, whether or not is it a registered SBR, as long as it is not currently in an SBR configuration, I can convert this back to a pistol by removing this buttstock, like so, putting on the pistol brace, like so, and then removing this vertical grip, like so. And now I have a AR pistol once again. Although this lower is a registered SBR, they told me as long as I convert it back into a pistol configuration while I'm traveling with it, I don't have to notify anybody about me traveling across straight lines. And that kind of defeats the whole argument about why it's bad to have an SBR, because for the longest time, that's actually was my understanding of it. You had to notify the ATF. I would never be able to take this lower anywhere I wanted to. Now, of course, since I have multiple ARs, I could just pop 2 pins, put this MK18 upper on one of my other AR pistol lowers, and then go across state lines. However, you know, this is a fine-tuned system. This comes directly from Daniel Defense with their buffer weight and their spring, and it runs, and I like to know that it runs. So I'd rather not take it off and have to swap it on with another lower and spring weight and all that good stuff and buffer weight, and have to worry about whether it's going to run or not when I'm traveling. So if I'm traveling and this is my truck gun and my defensive truck gun, I can convert it back into a pistol configuration and then go across state lines, no problem. Again, according to the fine folks at Capital Armory, whose opinions I do highly trust. Do your own research, call them on your own, and ask them the question that I just ask them if Range Day Bro is bullshitting or not. In all honesty, when they told me that, it gave me kind of a breath of fresh air, because I would love to take this and not have to worry about it. And so just being able to convert it back into an AR pistol like we have here and being able to take across straight lines kind of defeats every other purpose or every other negative that is said about having an SBR and why you don't want an SBR. So real quickly, let me remanufacture my SBR since we are in my home residence in my home state of the great state of Texas. Oh, and another benefit, I guess, is the length of pull, because on an AR pistol, you're not allowed to have greater length of pull than 13.5 inches from the front of the trigger to the back of the brace, which obviously you get rid of that with a SBR. However, I did still put some plugs in this adjustable, in my adjustable tube, so that I can only adjust it as back as to where I like to keep my guy locked into place. Now, with all that being said, guys, what would I recommend for you? I think it highly depends on what you want to do, right? If you're a collector, if you're a gun guy like myself and you have multiple ARs, the nice part about having one SBR AR lower versus SBRing an AK or something like that is being able to simply pop 2 pins like so. I can take any other AR lower that is shorter than 16 inches in barrel length and apply this to my lower receiver, which is an SBR, and then I could go rock and roll with another SBR. So this is actually the first time I've mounted up this 300 blackout upper to this guy, and it looks fantastic. I love it. I love it. And that is the beauty of having an SBR lower, especially if you have multiple ARs and multiple configurations that are all shorter than 16 inches. So here's another advantage. And it's not to say that you can't use this lower with an upper that is greater than 16 inches. There's no rules against that, right? That's another caveat that I was also told by the Capital Armory folks, is that if I had a barrel length of 16 inches or longer on here, I could still leave this in an SBR with a stock on here configuration, since it's a full-blown long gun, a rifle, and take it across state lines. So bottom line, do I recommend SBRing your Daniel Defense MK18? Absolutely. I mean, obviously I've done it here. I won't say that your gun is going to be obsolete or any worse if you don't do it. You're actually able to get a better cheek weld, put a vertical grip on here, and really just do whatever you want with it without having to worry about whether or not you're becoming a felon by putting a vertical grip on your AR pistol. So do I recommend it? Absolutely. Do I think it's for everybody? Not really. If you really just have one AR, and that's your AR you travel with, you leave it in your vehicle, sometimes you go across state lines often, then it might not be worth it to you. If you're not in a position to do it right away, you could always do it later down the road. You don't have to do it right away. So like I did, I had this gun for a couple years before I actually took the plunge and got my first SBR. But do I recommend it? Absolutely. If you have the money, get a gun trust guru. I can't recommend Capital Armory enough. They were very friendly, very knowledgeable, helped me through every step of the process. Yeah, it's a bit expensive, but again, at the end of the day, you get to have your go-to gun, and then you could have whatever upper you want on top of this SBR, which is the most beautiful part. Now, one more thing I'll mention that Capital Armory gave me a tidbit on was regarding the barrel length. When you register this as an SBR, I've heard a lot of people say put the shortest barrel length you'll ever go on the form, because that way you could always go to that shortest length, then go longer from there. However, again, what I was told was if you're going to be doing this on an AR platform, since it is so easy to swap uppers, if I were to take my DDM4 PDW upper with a 7-inch 300 blackout barrel and slap it on this guy, even though I registered this with a 10.3-inch barrel for an SBR for 10.3-inch, as long as it's easily convertible back to the original configuration, which in my opinion, just popping 2 pins in Capital Armory's opinion, just being able to pop 2 pins and swap the upper is easily convertible back to the original configuration, then you're able to use that upper on this SBR lower, again, as long as it's easily convertible back to the original configuration. So the same can't be said for the AK platform, because there's a lot of tooling involved, a lot of machinery that would be involved with changing out an AK barrel, not like the AR platform where you can just pop 2 pins, toolless, very quickly swap uppers out. And so if you're going to be SBRing an AK, make sure you do put down the shortest barrel length you want, because if you register it as a 14.5 AK, and then later on the road you have it go get it chopped to 10 inches or 11.5, technically you'd be in violation of the law, because that AK cannot be easily and quickly restored back to the original barrel length configuration of the 14.5. So just keep that in mind moving forward. Again, guys, this is all directly from Capital Armory. This video isn't sponsored by them or anything. I don't have any sponsors yet, but I'm nearing 1,000 subscribers, so I really appreciate all you guys who have clicked that subscribe button. I know it's cheesy, but it gives me the motivation I need to keep these videos cranking out, because there's a lot of time and effort that goes into producing these videos. And obviously when I'm doing shooting reviews, a lot of money, and nobody's sponsoring this. And so I really do appreciate you guys. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to me, keeps me going. So, all right, guys. So that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you guys really enjoyed this content. If you did, please go ahead and drop me a like and leave me a comment down in the comment section below. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithms, especially because I feel like my growth has been very slow since this new algorithm kicked in, and I just started 4 months ago. So it'd be a great help for me if you guys did engage with the video. I really appreciate that. And until next time, stay safe, stay dangerous. Range Day Bro, out.